Hello and welcome to the Nicole Mason Show, where we bring trailblazing women, movers and shakers, women who are breaking up fallow ground and making their way. And I am so excited about this guest. This guest is near and dear to my heart, and she has helped me tremendously with my social media presence and so many other things. I want to introduce to you Dr. Aikyna Finch, speaker and coach. She is a podcaster, social media coach, and speaker. She coaches in the areas of empowerment, life, and social media at the individual and group levels from her company, Finch and Associates, LLC. She is the co host of the Motivate Social podcast, broadcasted by her company, Changing Minds Online. She speaks and live streams on the topics of motivation, education, and social media. She is the co author of 8 books. She launched her first solo project, Motivation Ignited, in November 2016 and compiled her first anthology project, Empowerpreneurs, in February of 2020. She is a contributing writer, for Huffington Post, Goldcast, Forbes, and Thrive Global. Listen, she is all over the place. She is a certified coach, recognized by the International Coach Federation, and on it goes. But this is the best part. She is an educator. She received a doctorate of management, an earned doctorate. I love that. An MBA in technology management and an executive MBA from Colorado Technical University. She has an MS in management and marketing and an MS in information systems in IT project management from Strayer University, and a BS, get this, in aeronautical technology in industrial electronics from the School of Engineering of Tennessee State University. You can see I can hardly pronounce that, but she has all of this going on. And I want to say to you, Dr. Aikyna, welcome to the Nicole Mason Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am truly honored. Anytime that I get to spend some time with you is a blessed time indeed.
Well, thank you so much. I want to jump right into this interview, and I would like for you to talk about the power of social media. You have helped me, and you help so many others to reach, broaden their reach. And I want you to talk about how you came to do this wonderful work that you do and why it's so important now.
Well, how I got into it, funny story. I was helping soldiers find jobs as they got out of the military. And we were giving classes on presentation and how they need to put their brands together. And of course, we talked about social media. It started with LinkedIn, and then it went to Facebook, Twitter, and the list went on and on. And what I wanted them to know was that the social media was an extension of their brand, and that people see that before they actually see you most of the time. So you need to make sure that it's a true representation of what you can bring and how you come to the table. And
Mm.
so that is the reason why I got into that. And from posting other people, helping other people, people started liking my post and my way of putting things out. And then I started doing classes for the masses, and here we are today. So, why is social media important now? For just that reason. At 2:30 in the morning while you're sleeping, Someone in Thailand who's wide awake could be watching your social media and say, this is the person for me. Whether you're a coach, a speaker, what have you, they might need your product, your service, your gifting, but they won't know that you're there if you don't put yourself out there, if they don't know you exist. And social media is that extension. Yes, have a web page or at least a landing page or something to that effect, but putting that social media out, that's the first place that most people will search. And so
Mhm.
having that presence and having it in the speak will help you to get to that next level in your greatness.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And, I know for a lot of people, social media seems so vast and it seems so monstrous. Talk about how to take social media, I guess, maybe in bite sizes, or how would you recommend someone start on social media? Where do you start?
Well, that is a very good question. Most people tend to start where they feel comfortable. So if they want to build their audience on Facebook, that's great. But you have to remember that there's other platforms where your audience may reside. So you need to make sure that you are speaking to the right audience. You could be giving great content all day on Facebook, and your audience actually lives on Instagram, or your audience lives on Twitter. So the first thing to do is do the research. Search your area of expertise and see how many hits come up in that arena. Also, look up the main players in the game and see where they are posting. If they have a presence everywhere, but you notice that most of their engagement is on Facebook, then that might be the place where you need to gravitate. Um, Checking out where most people sit. Prime example, if you're a politician, most politicians, why? They're on Twitter right now because they're short, quick, and it's real time posting. Whereas more people that are doing arts and graphics and things tend to be on Instagram and Pinterest because those are more picture uh, facing platforms. So then you have the writers, they're going to be on Facebook, they're going to be on LinkedIn, they're going to be on things of that nature. Why? Because that's where people are paying and that's where you have a larger stretch of content. So you need to do the research for where you're going to go. And then you also need to then make a presence. Actually, and what does that entail? Going to a site called NameCheckR. Name, the word check, letter R.com, and putting in the title that you want to be called. Having the same name across the board is key. The two that have a character count are Twitter and Pinterest. So if you, and there's 14 characters. So you want to get your name in there within 14 characters and search it, and it'll let you know if other people have it. If you can get them all across the board, then you make those platforms and you get those names. You don't have to post right now, but you want to get those names right now. Why? Because you don't want to sit there and be late to the party and somebody else got your stuff. So those are some of the things that would be first.
Hmm. Yeah, you always have so much information regarding social media. I mean, things that when we have conversation, I'm like, I never have even heard of those things. So thank you so much for sharing, these tidbits of information. I want to turn just a little bit to a different subject, one that we often talk about in terms of making your mark, and particularly as it relates to being the first in some areas. And I know that you have had that experience as well as I have, being the first woman or the first African American woman. So, talk a little bit about how you have overcome those particular kinds of challenges. And sometimes we don't always get it right.
Right, right.
But how you have dealt with those kinds of challenges in the past, and if you're dealing with them currently, the kinds of strategies that you use to keep yourself steady and to be sure that you are representing yourself, representing God in a way that would bring glory to Him and, keep you out of trouble.
Very good question, Elder. So, as far as being the first, uh, I I think most of that started once I became a dean. I was a I had my doctorate at 31, dean at 32. Keep in mind this is like 6 months in between the two of these items,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went to a campus, and I was the second dean there, and the first one was a male of Latino descent, and then of course I am a black female. When I show up, I have all kinds of different faculty. Most of them are older than me, and then I also have a lot of students also older than me. So when I come to the meet and greet, I get a note saying that they were taken aback by my age and how I looked, and and the fact that I stand all of 5'2", just really helped the situation a lot, right? So I was actually, a lot of them were like, you could have been somebody's child. And so
Right.
I was like, okay, so I look young, I'm short, and the things. And I'm young. So I was like, oh my goodness, right? So how did I get past that? How did I end up with the respect of my faculty members and my older students? Because I basically let them know that expertise doesn't have an age on it.
Mm-hmm.
I also let them know that I was in it to win it. If you had a
Mm-hmm.
problem, we were gonna get it fixed.
Yeah.
I wasn't scared to put in the work. I wasn't running to other people. When I tried to tell my colleagues about different ideas I had, they would just brush me off. But when I finished my first quarter, number two in the region, not
Mm-hmm.
of 30 campuses, I was number two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were interested in what I had to say then, and I was number one in our district, in our region, and I was number two overall.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
the point is that you got to walk in excellence. You got
Mm-hmm.
to put your best foot forward. You have to accept when you the things you don't know, and go get the help, and not try to be everything to all people, and end up making all kinds of mistakes. Ask for the help, you
Yeah.
know, and accept what you don't know, and then grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of those are really, really powerful. And what I sense and what I have come to know is that success shuts people down.
Oh yeah.
When you come in and they discount you because of the way you look, because of the fact that you are Black, you're a woman, and then, you come in and you succeed, it causes people to pause to say, oh, okay, I see now. And I'm really glad that you talked about your success, because one of the other things that I've come to know is that there are a lot of women that will not toot their own horn, for lack of a better way to put it, will not talk about their accomplishments. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so encouraged by some of your posts about your earned doctorate, and all of the things that you have accomplished. And I want to just pause right there, because we see a flood of people now getting honorary doctorates because of their body of work. And I think that's good. But I also know that there is a lot of work that goes into studying for a doctorate, and getting your doctorate of management, as you do in my case, a Juris Doctor degree for law. Talk a little bit about what that experience was like for you to go to get your doctorate, and all of the work that
Okay.
that entailed for you?
Well, I was able to finish my doctorate in 3 years and 3 months.
Wow.
And 18 months in, I met they decided that we needed chairs. And I met, my chair just so happened to be one of the best friends to the program leader. And he sat there and listened to my topic and he said, well, I would have recommended you not been in the program if you hadn't been here so long. I said,
Mm.
oh, okay. All right. And so we went through, I did my writings, and finished the classes and got my panel together and all the things. And then we got down to the last wire and he was taking his time about reading my final paper. And I had to tell him. Sometimes you have to fight for what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And he was like, well, I have people been waiting over a month or whatever. I said, and that sounds like a personal problem that they have. That has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what's getting ready to happen. I will be here every day. Every day. Because I live here. I live 20 minutes away from you, sir. You come to the office every day, and I will be sitting here until you read this paper. So you
Hmm.
could decide if you want to see me every day or if you want to read the paper. 2 days later, my paper was read. The next day, and it was signed off. The next day, my first reader signed off, last reader signed off, and we were good to go.
Hmm.
Sometimes you gotta fight for what they think that if you don't speak up that they could do you any kind of way. And I just had to inform him that was not that rodeo.
Yeah, I'm big on speaking up for yourself, advocating for yourself. I grew up as an only child, so I had to do it all by myself,
Yeah.
fight for myself, stand up for myself. And, my mother made it very easy for me to be able to do that when she would just drill into my head, Nicole, you don't ask for respect, you demand it.
Yes.
And you demand it by the way you show up. Thus, my tagline, show up great. My mother was very adamant about me speaking up because she had experienced racism and discrimination in her own field of work as an accountant. And I remember the stories that she would come home saying. She worked for the federal government and she trained all of her Caucasian male bosses, and
Mm-hmm.
then those people were promoted over her. So I know what it means and what it takes to stand up for yourself. And I do believe that people respond to you differently when they know that you will stand up for yourself. Now, you may get a rep, as my grandmother would say, you may get a rep, and that is okay. But people will pause when they come across you because they know that you will not just take it and lay down as a result of it. And so tell me about that experience. What happened after the fact?
So after the fact, we had graduation, and he posted. He actually got out of the line when I was hooded, and actually gave me a hug and stopped the line. And he met my family, and when he met my family, he was actually crying in the line. And so he posted on my LinkedIn. He said, out of the 25 years I've been mentoring doctoral students, it's the first one who ever published before graduation,
Mm-hmm.
ever uh, fought to get where she was trying to get in the way that she fought, and the one that I know is going to make an impact. He actually posted on that post that you saw about my earned doctorate. He
Mm-hmm.
is actually on my post talking about his experience with me during that journey.
Wow.
So 12 years later, he is still affected by my journey. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the most important thing. They make it hard for you because when I was going through the change, we were the 1%. We have now
Mm-hmm.
became the 2%,
Mm-hmm.
and they value that. It's not taken lightly. They don't want
Mm-hmm.
just anybody in there. They want the ones of excellence in there, the ones who earn their way in.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to be able to go through all the mind games and the paperwork and all of the stress, and you come up standing and you have respect
Mm-hmm.
of your colleagues. When I was done with that graduation, welcome, colleague, welcome,
Mm-hmm.
doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think for me, because, I received my Juris Doctor also in 3 years, and just all that I had to go through and endure. And I remember I had a very similar kind of experience as yours with my clinic director. And of course, we had to do clinic where we were representing clients.
Mm-hmm.
And, this man gave me a hard time. I mean, a very difficult time. And I just remember telling him, I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 9 years old, and no one is going to stop me. So it really didn't matter to me. All of the obstacles and oppositions that he put before me, I was going to overcome them. And my goodness, when, my home pastor, I told him about it and we started praying about it. And we put prayer on it and applied pressure in prayer. Things really began to change. And so I know that experience very well also. And, I also want to ask you about your ministry.
Yeah.
And so, congratulations on going into the ministry. But every time you speak, you're preaching, anyways. I always tell you that. Talk about your ministry experience, because some woman may be listening, and even some man may be listening and trying to figure out, can I do both? Can I have a career? You talked about being a dean, and you have your own business, an entrepreneur, and serving God in ministry. So I want you to talk about your ministry experience and encourage someone who may be listening if they're trying to figure out if they can do all of those things.
Wow. Very good question. So, my ministry experience started a while ago, and um, people would see more. I'm a servant leader, so I love to serve and I love to help the kingdom. Well, once I received my calling, I started working with my pastor. Um, there were That's the same time I was getting my doctorate, and things that they were not feeling the fact that I was getting my doctorate and getting ministry. And so 5 years into the ministry, I needed to leave to go to my first duty station and as a dean, and I received, instead of my license, a certificate of appreciation. I was like, okay, you know. Then went on to a new ministry, pretty much same situation. And now, and I took hiatuses. I was like, well, maybe I'm just supposed to do business. Maybe I'm just supposed to, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm just supposed to talk and encourage people. And then I met my current bishop, and she would be there in my face. I
Mm-hmm.
see you. You're supposed to be doing this. Stop running and come on in there. And one day she called me to the church and she popped out from a pew and said, "Are you done playing yet?"
Mm-hmm.
And that began my journey. That was in 2017. I took a little hiatus because, I didn't gel with people. And it was never her, but I didn't gel with the other people. Came back in 2020, and I felt it tugging. And my business was always good, but it was always better when I was in a line.
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit, and I started going back and being in full ministry in January, where COVID hit in March, and I had this time to reflect because we weren't really going to church for like a couple of months. By the time May of 2020, we were back in church. My bishop was like, "I'm not having this separation situation." But the point is that during that COVID time, I got to see
Mm-hmm.
what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at my client list and I realized that everybody was faith based. I looked at my speaking list and everybody was faith based, and I realized that it was time for the things to merge.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do it all. If he gave you the talents and gifts, he needs to be first.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be the center point. He's the one who's supposed to be celebrated, and everything else comes secondary. Because when we pour into him and we celebrate him the way he celebrates us and loves us, then he's going to give us all we need to move into our next elevation of greatness. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what I would say to any minister who's wondering. Yeah, you could try to separate them, but you can only run for so long. I did the running, and now I am a minister with businesses.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And, you talked about, just not being honored in a couple of other places. And sometimes we can just be in the wrong place.
Right.
It's just as simple as that. And when you find the right place and the right mentor, the right person to pour into you, just as your bishop has, you can thrive and flourish and grow. And so that is awesome and amazing. It always amazes me how quickly time goes by. And so I want you to share with the audience how they can contact you.
Oh, yes. So I am at IkenaFinch.com, AIKYNAFINCH.com. You can also find me on all social media at DRAD Finch. All social media handles are the same. And I look forward to speaking to you. If something resonated with you, if you have a question, just slide in my DMs, as they say, and I'm glad to answer.
That's awesome and amazing. And I always ask all of my guests as we are wrapping up, what does show up great mean to you? When you hear show up great, what does it mean to you?
It to me, it means show up in excellence. It means show up as far as presence,
Mm-hmm.
because you are the catalyst for somebody else's greater. What
Mm-hmm.
would have happened if the person that was your catalyst didn't show up so that you could be great? There's times you're not going to want to get out of bed. It's times when you're not going to want to do, but you have to show up because someone needs you just as much as you needed that someone that made you great.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome and amazing. So there you have it, Dr. Ikena Finch. Be sure that you reach out if you're looking for a social media expert, someone to help you grow your audience on social media, someone that can help you to brand yourself, brand your business on social media. This is the lady for the job. So, thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Nicole Mason Show.